Okay, good.
Hold on.
Okay.
Just gonna adjust this for you.
Great. Good evening, everyone. First of all, my deepest apologies for running so late. And the reason is it ties completely in with January 12th that I wasn't going to get into this, but on January 11th, I moved out of my house that was less than 300 meters from the blast site. And the next day, when I woke up on January 12th, I still owned it. I was told by one of my board members, by my phone, by text, what was going on, and I didn't care about my house, didn't think about it. I sat and I cried. I cried for the pets that can't take, when I'm hearing that it's like machine gun fire, I'm thinking about the pets that can't even take fireworks. And I'm thinking about the children who are going to be traumatized leaving. I'm thinking about the seniors. I'm thinking about the families. I'm thinking about everybody else. And so I moved into my new house last week, and so this has kind of taken over my life. My house is chaos. And then today when I ran, and oh, by the way, yeah, I moved to, my deal did close that day in the afternoon, thank God. And I now live in South Welland. And so when I raced to get here, I forgot my computer that has all of my speaking notes. But so that's why I was late. I was just trying to put all my, it's generally right now going to go by a lot by photos that we'll bring together. And I do want to start this meeting, please, with, let me just get ready. Timer. 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, so I apologize. If I lived around the corner still, I would have my notes in my computer and we would have been on time. I deeply apologize. Okay, we will start tonight with a minute of silence for the man who tragically lost his life on January 12th. Please pray for him, his family, his friends, and his colleagues. Okay. I do want to say that that gentleman was rescued by two people from Colonial Flores. One of them, one of the owners, and one of the employees. And there are aspects of tonight I wanted Colonial to come, and I did ask them, but they're too traumatized. And as there are their employees who really knew this person well, and they're very distraught. This is obviously a huge deal. The initial blast was heard as far as the U.S., where people were making 911 calls. And their agencies were monitoring the air, and I got that when I finally had time to try and look up what I'd missed with moving, and I ran into that report on WGRZ TV, so it's fact, which is mind-boggling. Okay. Okay, so you please have to excuse me. I'm bouncing between my phone and written notes. So, okay. On February 24th, 2022, the Port Weller Residents Association held a public meeting, and this is what our board member, Doug Setterington, stated in closing that night. He says, "This is a kind of meeting, and we hope you agree, is very useful getting people together collectively to think about what's going on, what we prefer to have going on, to come together and send the appropriate messages to the people making the decisions. It requires vigilance to step up and put your voice and share your voice when things are happening that could negatively affect your quality of life. Port Weller East has unique challenges, including the city's aspirations for expanding our industrial area in Port Weller East, which we think is incompatible with the growing residential area, being the Bromley subdivision, 30 new homes, and our apartment building that in 2011 was zoned for 5 stories. The plans, I called planning last week, they've not yet been submitted. I'm scared how high it might go. But so it's just even more reason that we have to work on the compatibility and the other issues with the industrial park. So, okay. So the Port Weller Residents Association believes a vision plan is necessary to truly and transparently deal with the conflicting land issues in Port Weller East particularly. We encourage all of you to support that initiative. We believe that there are too many competing objectives in the area. Local residents deserve more from the city, and only through a proper vision plan can residents rest easy. Pretty amazing that that was said almost a year ago. I'm switching here to go to do something else, because speaking of prophetically and working with the city and what our wonderful Port Weller Residents Association has been working so hard for at least 3 years on big Port Weller East issues like the Northrop extension, which honestly, without the work of our city councilors, our hardworking city councilors, and our hardworking board, Northrop would have been closed back in May of 2021. People would not have had a way out because the city, the police, no one opened the emergency access route that I had been assured many times was there and would be maintained, etc. It has 4 steel gates with padlocks, and one of our board members, who's here somewhere, Les Dare, when he was leaving, he did tell the police after about like 45 minutes, an hour after the initial blast, he did inform them that that was still locked, but it still remained locked, and you know, there's more issues of traffic and things coming up. So I do want to play for you. Okay, let's see, let me just, okay, I want to play for you just a little excerpt. I couldn't tape it from, because I'm not technologically savvy enough to play it from YouTube. What I have is an audio tape, and at the beginning it is Councillor Phillips, but it's not very clear. He's asking what kind of ingress and egress that we have in and out of Port Weller East in the residential community. So, and by the way, we have 2 fantastic city councillors who have been working hard on the Northrop issue for a very long time. And to backtrack for that too, the residents of Port Weller East have been working on the Northrop issue since 2008. In 2010, they presented a 280 name petition, and which is pretty amazing because I just saw today that the census only had 700 people living there, and that would include children and multiple people per house. So 280 signatures, one per house, in that small community is a massive amount of support for keeping Northrop open. And just a moment, please. I just think on this. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So on June 28th, 2021, the issue of Port Weller East and traffic and safety and the community all came to the City Council agenda because Councillor Phillips had requested that. And so that then gave me an opportunity to talk about, to address City Council about trying to keep heavy construction vehicles off our residential streets, that if Northrop was closed, prematurely. And so I was presenting on that, but last night when I was, by the way, I worked till 5:30 in the morning on this stuff. Like, I've been working on this. I'm as upset, probably more than you guys are, that I don't have this stuff today. So I'm hoping that this works. I tried it with Kevin a little bit earlier. This is me on June 28th, 2021, addressing City Council about our access issues in and out of Port Weller East. Oh, shoot. I had to backtrack, sorry. I put it on Do Not Disturb. I apologize for this. Okay. Okay, it should go now.
Mrs. Crouch, would you just review with us access and egress as far as the residents in Port Weller and what they have to undergo right now and what concerns there are just generally?
Okay, well, as you can probably see, perhaps something that will come to your attention, if that block of land at the westerly end of Northrop is closed off permanently, we will be down to only one permanent access in and out of the entire residential community for Port Weller East. We abut an industrial park. God forbid there's some sort of thing where we have to evacuate, that we have to get out, then we're all jamming, because every single, as you can see, every single resident has to use Broadway to get in and out.
Okay. I knew I had told them that there would be a problem with evacuation. That's where, when I looked it up. So, and they didn't listen. Although, like I said, our counselors have been trying hard from long before that and still now. Yeah, okay. Oh, Doug's on. Okay. Oh. I read Doug's thing already, didn't I, David? I read Doug's thing already, didn't I, David? Okay, sorry. I apologize, guys. Okay, Kevin, can you please play, this is a short, oh, I'm gonna have to qualify this, please. Please, I'm gonna be playing video. It's only 22 seconds long, but it's very impactful of what was happening early on the morning of January 12th. If this is gonna trigger anyone, which is completely understandable, if you could just please leave for a few minutes, and we'll have someone come back and tell you when it's time. This video was taken. Oh, I know. Oh, I know, but okay,
They don't, I mean, make it easy for everyone.
That's what it is. This is a video of January 12th, 2023. Oh, you don't have, oh gosh, you don't have the video? Okay, it's unfortunate. Okay, we had this wonderful video taken, yeah, just if you could settle down for a moment, please. We're getting to that. We're getting to that. Okay, the photos and the story are getting to that, and then the counselors will have a chance to speak, and then the residents are going to have a chance to ask questions and make comments. Okay? This is, okay? Please have some understanding. Okay, so we're going to go, we start with photo 1, which was taken by an employee of the industrial park that it started off at 6:38 a.m. He arrived. Can you please let everybody else hear it, please? Thank you. Okay. There was an employee from the industrial park who arrived at 6:40. The blast had started 2 minutes earlier. He did take some incredible video. Can you please put up photo 1, please? Okay. That's taken from Kiefer, I think. And I'm just going to read a bit of like his reactions, because we have people here from the city, across the city, who weren't there. I personally wasn't there. And so, okay. I'm just going to read part of what he said. That he said he was so thankful that it happened in the dark hours of the morning instead of when all the workplaces were full. There were tens of thousands and thousands of explosive combustions. It was like something that anyone's wildest dreams could never have thought up. The smoke pouring into the air was one of the most disastrous things I've ever seen. Canada should outlaw storage like this. Okay, the reason I'm sharing this is, okay. It will be. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is coming. You will have. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, we didn't plan an end to the time tonight. Okay. I'm going to read Shelley's.
Yeah, no, I just, we recognize the emotional nature of tonight. If you are speaking, the live stream can't hear you. So if you do want to speak, come to the mic. There's going to be ample opportunity tonight to hear very shortly. We're just trying to establish, we have both Bill and Don here who are going to speak and hear your voices. So just, sorry.
People are leaving.
I know that.
But then you've got to change everything.
Okay.
Change what you're doing.
Okay.
Change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
People can now just come up and let us speak, and then everybody listen and yes, be done.
Okay. Okay, we're just going to first briefly go through the photos, and then, come on. Oh, come on. I'm talking 1 minute. Okay. Wait a minute.
Let's not go through the photos.
Okay, then do we have the counselors or the residents? I guess
well,
the resident.
No, let's bring the counselors up first. Okay, everybody. let's be civil. We recognize that, again, this is an emotional night. I would like to hear from the councillors because they're here on their time as well. And we're going to present our case to them. Bill and Don are well aware of the issues around Northrop. We want to hear your voices tonight. We put this meeting together. It's not going to be a 15-minute meeting, but we're not going to be here for 3 hours either, I assure you. But if you do want to speak, and when you get the opportunity, please come to the mic for the people that aren't in the room so they can hear you. Otherwise, the video is just silent. So I think we should probably...
Okay.
Well, we're gonna deal with, bring the councillors up first.
Okay. So which of our councillors want to speak first, please? Oh, they're going to come together. Well, that's terrific. Thank you. So here are councillors Don Dodge and Councillor Bill Phillips, our Grantham Ward councillors.
Well, welcome everyone. And I'm sure we can all agree that this isn't the greatest circumstances to come together, but it is wonderful to see everyone come together and be able to share the grief and all the impact that this incident has caused for all of us. So, you know, we lived it as well. I felt the explosion. I saw things as well. I wasn't right on site, but when everything was happening, I did go to the center and speak to people there, and then I left because there was a lot of issues going on, a lot of phone calls, and a lot of people to talk to. So Bill and I were both there to try to support people as much as we could throughout this process. And this is something that's been at the forefront of our hearts and our minds since this has happened, and it's been very unfortunate. We really can't speak to a lot of what happened because it's still under investigation. The fire marshal's still there. He's going to probably be there for another couple of weeks. I can assure you that our staff are working diligently to make sure that everything is safe for people to stay in their homes. And, you know, they're looking towards what we can do in the future, as well as what we're doing right now to make everyone feel safe. And it is horrific, and I'm sure that if there was, we have people that are willing to counsel people if they need to have that. And I'll let Bill say some stuff too, so.
Thanks, Don. First of all, I see Ryan Medill here tonight, standing over the corner. Ryan is the president of the Firefighters Association of St. Catharines. Ryan, on behalf of all of us, I don't know if there are any other firefighters here tonight, but I recognize Ryan. And Ryan, please take back our thanks to your crew, your friends, your firefighters, and thank them for the great job they did. Thank you. And on behalf of the Council of St. Catharines, we do want to extend our condolences to the family of the gentleman who lost his life in this tragic fire. We have been involved in this since the instance that we found out about it. But what I want to do tonight is tell you what has gone on so far. On Monday night at our council meeting, we went in camera to discuss the issue. We as a council, and this is a new council, so we can change the vote that was taken by the previous council with a simple majority. We've directed staff as expediently as possible to investigate, and this will happen, a second route out of Port Weller East. That will happen. It's not going to happen next week. It takes time for all of this. I don't know where there's, you know, we've talked about Northrop forever, and Dawn has taken the lead in this. I commend her for that. I agree 100%. Some councillors agreed. Unfortunately, some councillors didn't see the need for it. Now, Mark Stevens, thanks for being here tonight. When we discussed it on Monday night, there was no naysayers at all. So I firmly believe this is going to happen. Also, what's going to happen, I spoke with Chief Upper today. He couldn't be here because he is up to here with the Ministry of the Environment, the Ministry of Labor, the Fire Marshal's office, and about 3 other people, and quite frustrated that it's not going fast enough, to be honest. But he's working very diligently in getting that done. The one problem, as you know, in getting out of Broadway was the fact there was a fire hose going across. And that fire hose, in talking with the chief, was about 6 inches in diameter. For cars to go over that, would have ripped the hose apart. He told me about a time when they did that, when it wasn't this situation, where a truck went over and actually ripped the hose out of the fire hydrant. So that couldn't happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to put another fire hydrant on the east side, or 2 fire hydrants, so that no longer will hoses have to go across. If this ever happens again, God forbid, if it ever happens again, those hoses won't have to go across Broadway, so that will be an exit also, or down Seaway Haulage, wherever, plus the new one that's going to happen. I've also told, and I shouldn't say I should say we, because Don and I were talking on Monday night with Chief Upper, there will be an emergency plan made for Port Weller East. After this is done with the Fire Marshal's office, Don and I will take your concerns, and I'll ask the Port Weller Residents Association to gather your concerns, give them to Don and I, and we will meet with the CAO and the mayor and Chief Upper and we'll give them your thoughts, and with his expertise, they will formulate an emergency plan for Port Weller East. So if this ever happens again, every door in Port Weller East will get one of these. So you will know, and it could be as simple as if you get a stay-at-home notice, close your windows, close your door, turn your furnace off, turn your air conditioner off, and there will be a siren when the all-clear sign. It's something simple as that. Talk about evacuation, whatever. I'm not sure what's going to be in it, but you will get one. It's not going to be next week. It's going to take time to do that, because the chief said in 2024 he has to have something go to the province to designate areas of concern. There's another area of concern in Meriton where there's one way in and one way out that we have to deal with. But it'll be done before 2024. He told me that. I commend the emergency services guys that were and women that were there doing their job. I hear people telling us how emotional it was and how scary it was, and we really feel for you people. And we're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And there's 100 things that were done right, and there's probably some improvements we can make. And we want to hear your suggestions as to what could be done better, and we'll take those suggestions to the fire chief. I don't know, Dave, if you want questions to be asked of us now, or if you want to go up and do a dance or whatever you want to do.
But we definitely want to get into that part of the evening where people come voice concerns, and I think you guys are here to hear those. So if there's direct questions to you, absolutely. But you could probably sit down, and then we can start hearing from the audience.
Okay, we have a question right here.
I just want to clarify one point.
Yep. Get right to the mic, please.
Is that what, now? Okay. Thank you for coming out and for explaining this. I think it's very helpful for us to get some idea. I think that's what most of us wanted to hear is, what's going to be done in the future. I just want to be clear. You're mentioning about a second route out. I noticed that you didn't mention Northrop. So is it possible it could be something other than Northrop, or did I misunderstand that?
We're asking for a secondary route out of Port Weller East, and we're looking at all options. So we want to provide the best option. So we're looking at everything right now.
Okay, so I'm just to be clear, what else could that be other than Northrop? I'm just trying to visualize how else we could evacuate other than through there.
Well, there is the actual emergency access that's there now that could be upgraded and
Expanded.
perhaps,
Yeah.
made more accessible and a better route. So
Okay.
they're looking at it because obviously, when we had this situation, we have to look at everything now. So we definitely are looking at, for sure, having a secondary exit out of Port Weller East.
Okay, it's just that would just be as an emergency route. It would no longer be usable as a road as Northrop is currently?
I can't say right now because we don't know. It's too early. We don't have the information back from us. My wish, and I've always asked for it, and Bill's supported me very much on this, is that Northrop would be left open. So that's what, but as secondary access, whatever it may be, if it's going to keep the residents safe, then I'm for that as well.
Right.
And so is Bill.
And we would support it not necessarily as solely an emergency route.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a route, a second route out down Reed Road,
Okay.
so you can get out.
Okay, good, thank you.
If that's possible, again, keep in mind, Don and I are 2 of 13 voices, and we can do all we want, but it still comes down to a vote, and we have to carry it like that, and we do it. It's a new council, as I say, and so far it's been a very good council, and we'll, again, as I said, we got support for this. We told staff, get out there, find out what the options are. Personally, and with Don, Northrop is their #1 choice. If it's available, that's what we're going to push for.
It is available.
If
It is available. It's there. Just put a stop sign there and pave it.
Okay?
That will,
It's not like it's not there. Just make it legal.
you're right. We'll see what we can do. The staff will investigate that, and as we said, that's what we prefer.
If I may, I think you can understand from the tensions in the room that people really appreciate all of the first responders. We appreciate the work that you're doing. But what's not acceptable and what we don't appreciate is it took this tragedy and someone to lose their life for this to become an issue that the city is going to actually deal with. So what I would like to know is how the city plans to provide the residents of Port Weller with the following things. First, some awareness of what is around us. We are surrounded by a fairly significant industrial area. It would be really helpful to have some kind of understanding of the types of industrial materials that we're surrounded, some assurance of what the safety mechanisms are in place by the city to assure some safety for all of us, the residents who are living here. I appreciate and I'm really excited to hear that there's an evacuation plan underway. What I would love to hear a little bit more about is what the communication plan is for that action plan around evacuation, what the timelines are. I do appreciate and understand these things take a lot of time, but I think what the group here needs to understand is what is that timeline? Is it a month from now, a week from now, 6 months from now? I think that would really help for us all to feel that we're being heard and that we can understand that there is a process underway. I also think it would be really helpful if we could get a better understanding, because it's not lost on me as someone who does live in Port Weller East, that one of the few blessings was that the canal was closed when this all went down. Because respectfully, if that bridge had been up, I worry it might have been more than one person who lost their life that day. It absolutely would have been more than one building that was destroyed that day. And again, we do appreciate that you are working really hard for us, but what I think we would love to hear a bit more about are some concrete plans that are underway, some concrete timelines for what these plans are, when they're going to be engaged, and when we're going to be informed as the taxpayers in this region around what those plans are. Thank you all so very much.
I'll let you talk to the canal. I'm going to talk to the plan.
If I could respond to that, please. Number one, I agree with everything you said. Number two, I'm going to give you my business card. Please submit that in an email so I can forward everything, because my senior's mind sometimes forgets the odd thing. But anyways, if you could email me that, I guarantee you I will forward that to our CAO and to our fire marshal, or our fire chief. The Seaway. I fought, I think, since about the first day I've been elected to make sure we don't get Port Weller and Carlton Bridge up. I met with the vice president of the Seaway for the first time last summer when I was at a conference at White Oaks, and he guaranteed me that they were going to put that, or they were going to do everything they could to ensure that both bridges don't get up. And I see a lot of people shaking their heads out there. Okay. If I can, please. If I can, please. Yesterday, we had a meeting. I was at a meeting in Thorold with MP Badaway and the mayor, and at which point I indicated to the mayor when we were talking about this, we need to have a meeting with MP Biddle again. I will be for sure contacting the vice president. I have his business card, and talking with him, explaining the situation that we just went through. I can't get guarantees from the Seaway. Please trust me that I have tried. It's like knocking my head against that mirror sometimes. This is different now. Now we have proof, and I'm hoping that they'll listen a little more intensely this time. But I guarantee you that I'll be talking with the vice president within the next week of the Seaway, and we will be having a meeting with MP Biddle to discuss this situation. Because it is it's ridiculous when they tell me, well, time is money, and we hold the ships up. That's no. My dad was the chief engineer. I know it takes 7 days to get from the lakehead down to 7 islands, and if you have to wait 15 minutes in the canal for a bridge to go down, you can make that time up going down Lake Ontario with a tailwind. So, I almost went across the table at the gentleman that told me that a few years ago. But again, that's one thing that it's very frustrating because I've been fighting that for a long time. But now I've really got something in my hand to be able to tell him. Dennis? Oh, sorry, Don has something to say.
I think that I would like people to know that this has not, because of this tragedy, it hasn't brought this to the forefront for us. This is something that we've been fighting for to keep Northrop open, and it has stayed open because of us fighting for it. So this isn't we haven't started fighting again. We've been continually fighting for this, and we will continue to fight until we have that. So I don't want you to think that, oh, this happened, so now this has been something that's been ongoing.
If I may, and I do appreciate that, I think what I worry about is hearing that there wasn't an evacuation plan in place already from the city of St. Catharines. I mean, that's absolutely not acceptable and frightening as someone who's living in that area, as folks who have family and children and pets and all of those things. That's what is especially disconcerting to me, is that it took this for that discussion to reach the level that it's reached. And again, please hear, I absolutely appreciate the work that you are both doing, but it shouldn't have taken this for this to be a conversation happening. And as well, what I would really like for us to be able to have is some kind of commitment from the city around timing of some of these things. Understanding that it can't happen tomorrow, but what I think can happen in the next week or so would be some kind of communication to the taxpayers and residents of the city around what the city's plan is and when we can expect to get deliverables on that plan. Thank you.
Okay, would it be fair to ask that, and I know this is very difficult living through all of this, but time enough for the fire marshal and everything to be kind of settled a little bit with that, and then as soon as we find out as much information, we obviously want everyone to know, and then we can start saying, okay, our next step is going to be this, and this is when this is going to start taking place. So just be patient for a couple of weeks. We have another meeting on January 30th, and I'm hoping that we'll have more information for everybody at that time.
Thanks for Don and Bill and Mark for coming. I just got a couple of comments, maybe a couple of initiatives you could take back to City Hall. As being a longtime labor advocate, unfortunately, I've dealt with some workplace fatalities, and that is a workplace fatality over there. The Ministry of Labor will investigate, and in the steel worker world, there's a motto: kill a worker, go to jail. So hopefully there's criminal charges held against the directors of Ssonix or the owners of Ssonix. And if the city could do something to maybe push the envelope and make sure there's a criminal investigation and they're criminally charged with negligence and causing the death of a worker. The other thing I'd like to see, it's great that, I'm part of the Port Weller board. It's great that the Port Weller executive brought this meeting together in 2 nights. I really like to see the city be proactive, and maybe you guys present a meeting without the Port Weller Residents Association doing it. Maybe it would be nice if there was an information meeting hosted by maybe the city councilors or the whole council, actually giving an information update on what's going on in Port Weller East. It shouldn't have to be a community group that has to pull this off in 2 days. It should be the city leading the charge and doing the initiative on it.
Duly noted, Dennis, what you've said. And
Where's the mayor? Where's the mayor?
I can't speak to where the mayor is. I don't know. I can't speak for the mayor, so I don't know where he is. But I would like to say that when we were approached about this meeting, I did have another meeting planned that I had said I would attend, and I had to change that. And I expressed that this was too soon because there was too many questions that we can't answer because we don't know the answers to those questions. We were totally ready to come forward and have a meeting for the people in Port Weller East and the city because everyone has been touched by this. So we were going to do a meeting, and we still would like to do a meeting. So I want you to know that it wasn't that we weren't trying to do it. We just wanted to have more information to come forward and have staff and everyone here to be able to put this together.
I mentioned that to Chief Upper today and to our CAO when I was talking to him, that once the investigation is complete and we have more information, that we would like to have a community meeting back here. But right now, that's the reason is, again, Chief Upper was frustrated today because it's not going faster, because he was hoping to have it wrapped up by the end of the week, and he says it's going to take at least 2 weeks because, well, when you have 3 or 4 government agencies all on site, they all think one's more important than the other, I guess, and so they have to get things sorted out, and that's what they're trying to do right now. But I did mention to our CAO and to Chief Upper that Don and I would like to have a community meeting to tell you exactly what happened, and again, we talk about the emergency plan, when that's going to happen, and how it's going to be rolled out to you.
Thanks, Bill and Don. I'm Dave DeRocco, president of the association. Sorry about my voice, but I want to reiterate, Bill and Don are our allies in this particular instance. They've been great, and I appreciate you guys putting your feet to, no, I'm not going to use that, sorry, standing up here and fielding questions. So this is the kind of civil ideas we want to generate tonight, so that they can take them back to council, whether it's about the CUA and emergency plan, Northrop. I will say that we sent out a questionnaire to our e-list and through our Facebook page and asked 4 questions. Did you evacuate? What route did you take? Do you support the Northrop access? 100%, and they're still flooding in. I couldn't collect them all prior to this meeting. 100% agree we need a secondary access. 95% were all for Northrop because it is there. Sir, there are complications with that. It's not as easy as putting up a stop sign, and Bill and Don certainly know that. So, but they are working in our favor. That's what we want to hear for the next, as long as this meeting lasts, to come up with your proactive ideas and things that really concern you, because this is our first step in 2023, coming together as a community to really get the city to take some action on East Port Weller. We all know it's unique, and there's a lot of zoning issues, and Linda will touch on some things as we wrap up the meeting later. That concern us all about East Port Weller. So feel free to continue to step up to the mic and offer your ideas, your fears, your concerns, what you think we might be able to encourage Bill and Don to bring to council for us. So go ahead.
Thank you, David, and thank you for being here this evening. I'm a resident of Port Weller East in Brigantine Court. And first of all, I would like to give kudos to our emergency services. From the time of the blast, yeah. From the time of the blast, I heard the sirens in less than 3 minutes, okay, from the blast. That is a fantastic response time based on my experience, not just here, but also in the US. The other thing that I would like to point out, it's some things that they can be improved. And I think this is why we're here, okay? After I noticed, not just the noise and the shaking of the house, but the big fireball and that went up in the air and the sky that changed, I immediately, called 911. And guess what? I was put on hold. And I kept it, okay? I already heard the sirens, but then I said, let me keep this on, let's see when they answered. After 10 minutes, I shut my phone off. We can think, oh my gosh, what happened? This has happened before. This is why after 9/11 in the US, there was a big lessons learned exercise, which I think that we should all participate, okay, and give our opinion about your lessons learned exercises. But one of the things that happened is that while the Twin Towers were coming down and all of the emergency vehicles, okay, were going to the Twin Towers, you think that other emergencies did not happen during the city? They continue to have emergencies, only they could not respond in time for it. So what was the answer in the States for that? All of the sheriff's department in the US were tasked with creating a community emergency response team. When I sent letters, to the editor of one of the newspapers, to yourselves, I copied you on that. And guess what? I find out that there is a community emergency response team here in Niagara. Okay, we have it. Let's make use of it. And the reason for that is, number one, okay, we're not saying we need to respond immediately, to the place where there is the fire, but we get to know our neighborhood, who needs help. We have an aging population here, okay, and some people, okay, they wait for family members that might live in St. Catharines to come in and take them, especially, in a winter night when the sun comes up, late in the morning. They don't feel good about driving. So this is an idea where it can help. I found out after I was allowed to return home that there were a couple of households of senior citizens that they locked their doors and turned off the light and stayed inside. They were afraid, and they continue to be afraid until we came back. We cannot do that. Okay, these are our neighbors, okay, our friends, even if we don't know them, man, that they live with us. We need to have a way, to help them out. This might be an idea. Okay? CERT, C-E-R-T. Google it, and you can find, where the nearest one, the people in Niagara, okay, that they are members, and they are training people and looking for volunteers. The last thing, I asked my captains, 2 of them, to give me some ideas, regarding the traffic and what happens in case of an emergency. The traffic, talking about the ship traffic, because like the other lady said, we've been tremendously lucky that this happened when the canal was closed, to shipping. That was Saturday the 7th, okay, at midnight. When we are talking about access, let me backtrack a little bit. The captains also said that it was their understanding that if lock number 1 bridge was up, then number 2 had to stay down. That was their understanding, but all of us have had experiences with 1, 2, and 3. They're all, up at the same time. Okay. Let's keep in mind when we say we need a way of access, that the emergency services we have right now, they also need a way to come in. And if a whole bunch of people, clog the only street that they have or the only bridge, we're not helping anybody out. Okay? So if we are talking about the expansion of the industrial area, or even the expansion of the residential area, we should give some thought about having our own fire station. You got it. Right? We cannot rely, on, emergency services having to cross bridges to get here. I think that will be my opinion. Of course, the professional will know better. Okay. One last thing I have to say is that I was talking to one of the city officials today for my other business, which is a ferry system, not with hovercraft that you guys have heard, but I have with zero carbon emission vessels. And he has authorized me to make this public this evening, and to tell you that he is going to help me to talk to the Seaway Authority, that if we have a dock over here on the east side, then we can use, the ferry system in order to evacuate people, from this end, between here and Port de Lucie. So that is going on.
Thank you, Bruno.
All right, I'm a retired fireman, and I just wanted to make it clear that there's 2 exits here. We are overstaffed in number of people in here, but we have 2 exits, which we should have. And Northrop must be kept open so we can escape. And we need to talk city officials to the Ministry of Environment so that building is never opened again. In another lifetime, I was a contractor, and I did go to that business in the early 90s, and it scared me so badly that I never went back, and I never gave the man a quote, and I never built that job. That is how scary that place was even then. We could have been burned out by flying debris, and debris did fall in our front lawns. So that is a very dangerous thing, and we should have some way to protect ourselves from that. And what has been going on the last couple days, there's fire trucks not doing anything. The fire chief is there. The innocent commander is there. and it smells terribly bad. What is going on when if they're sucking that garbage out of that building, they should not be any smell if the connection is there and into the tanker truck. What is that smell that's going around the community right now? I don't understand why the fire chief is not here and the police chief is not here. They have nothing to do with the inspection of what has happened at that location. The fire marshal those people should be here. I'm sorry, I'm glad you're here, who is here, but it's not enough. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
It's just a quick thing. Thank you for coming, and I think you can understand everybody's the way everybody is. I have one question. When the council met to talk about Northrop, and some people voted and some people didn't, what were the reasons why they did not want it to be done? Because if we knew what the reasons were, then maybe we can get together and, you know, do something about it. Was it money? Was it just trying to figure out what it is? Because something had to happen, and I'm sure you guys must know why everybody else was pretty well adamant that it wouldn't open.
I think it was money.
It always comes down to budget. But I'm not going to say that that's, I'm just going to say that it's in camera, and I know that people don't want to hear it's in camera, we can't talk about it, but believe me when I say that everybody is fighting for the secondary access to be left open. And, you know, at the same time, we can't really we can speak for ourselves what we feel, but we can't really share what other councillors have felt and stuff like that. In fairness to them, they should be the ones that are asked that question.
Well, it mustn't be personal, obviously, just that they don't want to have one. It's got to do something with money or something like that. So what can we do as a community to put something behind it? It's got to be something. I know you can't tell me, but it's got to be money, or somebody wanted something else done and the money was going to be spent there. So
yeah,
I agree with you. I'm a general contractor from the area. I have my business in this area. I would be willing to offer my engineers, architects, and staff. I'd be willing to offer out our business's services to help the construction and save cost for the city to finish off that access point. Okay. I have engineers, architects, and general laborers that would be more than happy to do that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think that by all of you being here this evening, and the people that couldn't be here, the people that have already spoken out and reached out to us, you're doing what you can do, and that's supporting us in the fight to keep this open.
And I guess standing on the canal bridge wouldn't help when they want to get a ship through.
As I said before, and it bothers me when people blame past councils for things that happened that they didn't like, but that was what happened with the past council. For whatever reason they voted against us, they have their own reasons. All I can tell you is that on Monday night, there was not one dissenting voice that showed any concern towards telling staff, go and do something to make sure that we get a secondary access out of Port Weller. So the past is what it is. The future looks a heck of a lot, and I'll say the word heck of a lot brighter than it has in the past. And Don and I are quite, and I'll be honest with you, prior to going into the council meeting and speaking with the mayor, he told Don and I, this has to be done. So, you know, kudos to him and to the rest of council for, you know, we're thrilled with the outcome of it. The fact that it's going to be built somewhere, whether it's Northrop or whether they'll find something that will be, or an area that will be built out, that will be, and as I said, I don't want an emergency access. I want a road that you can, whether it's, and depending on, again, about how much space is available, it might only be one way. It might only be a one-way street out. Well, if that's that's the case. That in an emergency, that's what we want. You don't want to come in. So if it's an out, then in the morning and you have to get out, then you could get out, and when you come home in the evening when there's not as much traffic, you can get in Seaway haulage. But
thanks, Bill.
That's an issue that we're going to, no, and you're right, 100%. You were right. That was something that was missed. It shouldn't have been missed. No, it shouldn't have been missed. It was a mistake, and it won't happen again. We've already talked about that. We talked to our staff about that, and that was something that didn't get done, and should have been done at 6:30 in the morning. That should have been one of the first things done.
Thanks, Bill. Don,
I just wanted to say part of the reason that the emergency access road wasn't unlocked was because Northrop was still open and people were able to get out through there. But the other one should have been done as well.
But we could only get out through the north.
That's right. So Northrop was still open. The emergency access is right there too.
By car. Lucky us that the new buildings, no one is living in.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, it would be house.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, if as a community, we need to come together, and if Northrop is what we want, we should be asking for that. And that's, no offense. But I do want to address the earlier comment about who's in the room tonight. As the association, we weighed out the pros and cons of having a meeting this soon. Obviously, we would have loved to have a full group of individuals who could answer all our questions. There's a lot of research being done on what happened and things, but we felt it was important to rally the community to hear these opinions and ideas. So although we don't have everyone in the room, we have our two greatest advocates on council, and we'll throw Mark in here because he's a Port Weller boy.
David, if I might, I see Sal Sorrento, regional councillor now standing in the back, so he also showed up too, so thanks for being here, Sal.
Hi, I just have just really a general question, but it's something that hasn't been raised at all. And I don't expect you to answer them. You probably can't answer them off the cuff. But given the kind of materials that were stored in this building, are there any bylaws, city bylaws or ministry regulations which limit the storage of explosive materials in close proximity to residential areas? I think that's a question that needs to be asked. If not, why not, I guess. And then was the premise inspected regularly, if there are bylaws or regulations governing that? Was the city or the ministry aware of what was stored there? Because I think going forward, for residents anywhere in the community to feel safe and secure, this needs to be prevented from happening ever again. And so putting in place regulations or bylaws if they're not there already, and also going into that community, and because you have a regulation and a bylaw, inspecting what remains there to ensure that residents feel safe in the future. Thank you.
So just for information, all of those questions that the previous speaker has asked have been asked of our staff as well as our fire chief. We don't have the answers right now, but they are looking into it and they'll have answers back for us.
My name is Les Dare. I'm on the Port Weller Residents Association. I know some of you know me, some of you don't. For a number of years, Bill and I met way back in 2010 to open Northrop. At that time, we discussed an opening it because they just finished Broadway, repaving it and everything, and he got it open. And it's been construction access ever since then. So we've been fighting for that access since 2010. 2008 was the first submission for the buildup of the area. Also, I've worked fires, and some of the fires I've worked have been $1 million a day for fighting them. Dave and the committee, we were talking that we should set up committees. We don't have to wait for the city for emergency response plan. I've wrote emergency response plans. If you want to help and set up a committee, we can start one tomorrow. You don't have to wait for the city to make a plan and tell you what you're going to do. You can get the city to help tweak it and give you some support. But we definitely need an emergency response plan when you've got a heavy industrial mixed with a residential area. Okay? So if you want to talk to Dave or myself and want to help on a committee, we can start on it tomorrow. We can start it by getting padlocks chained and get a key in the area. Because right now there's 2 different padlocks on it. So you call the city guy, he's going to show up, he'll have 1 key on it. I'll have to find another guy that's got the other key. Okay? Fire truck, if he wants through there, he will get through there. It doesn't matter. They have a chop saw, the fence post and everything will be gone in 10 minutes. Okay? I met with Bill and at the time Mellebacher. The emergency access is not heavy enough to support a fire truck. It will support an ambulance, and will support a car. Most of the time it's overgrown. You have to call the city about 4 times. Now I don't bother calling the city, I just call the fire marshal's office. If they want to issue a fine to the city, that's fine. But it gets overgrown and it hasn't been kept clean for years. Okay? That's one thing that has to be kept up. They say, fire marshal's office says, you can't have an emergency access with a locked gate on it. So why does the sign says emergency access? So there's one thing that we have to look at.
Yeah.
Okay? So if anybody wants to put their name in, we'll start a committee, start on it tomorrow, get the emergency response plan together. I'll be more than happy to help with it. Thank you.
Just a quick show of hands in the essence of time. How many people are hoping to speak? So we've got 3, 4. Great. Okay, so we're on par for a decent ending. We will have some wrap-up comments from the PWRA. So thanks again for your patience. But come on,
Dave. Before the next speaker, when we're recognizing people that are here tonight, someone that did speak with me on the day of the incident was Jenny Stevens, and one of her chief of staff is here, Jesse. He's over here in the corner. So I'm sure that he's taken stuff back for Jenny, who couldn't be here this evening.
So I wanted to ask a question I'm sure is on everyone's mind here, but are we safe? Right? We were saying that we thought the cleanup and the investigation was going to be over by the end of the week, and we're hearing now it's going to take a couple of more weeks. So why is that? We can smell things in the air. I know if I go out for a walk, my mouth tastes kind of metally, or it's not right, I can tell you that. What should we be doing? Should we be just staying in our houses? Should we be going for walks? Should people be taking their dogs out to Happy Ralph's like I see so many people doing, even walking on the roads? What's safe, what's not? Should we go stay somewhere else for I don't know how long? What chemicals are actually there? Do we have a chemist in the room that can tell us about toxicities, a toxicologist, an environmentalist? Who do we have in our community that we can get together and actually solve this faster than how slow, no offense, government usually takes? Because this is an emergency and we need to act fast and swiftly for the lives and safety of everyone, as well as all the children that I see in our community that are growing here that are so much more at risk for developmental issues because of these chemicals. We know what PCBs do. There's been tons of research articles that have been done on this. Do you guys have a direct answer for whether we're safe or not and what we should be doing?
According to the Minister of the Environment, the air is safe. That's all I can tell you, but what I will also tell you is I'll contact Chief Upper tonight via email and ask him to, and there's somebody from the Ministry of the Environment on site now, I believe. I will ask him to contact that person to do another air quality assurance for you, okay? And to make sure, whatever the aroma is, I have no idea what it would be, but all I can tell you is that the Ministry of Environment has indicated that the air is safe to breathe. We will do a follow-up tomorrow, okay?
That'd be great.
Again, there's a hazmat company that's has been working. They are still on site. Again, Ministry of the Environment, I don't know if Fisheries and Oceans are involved yet or not, but the Ministry of Environment, I imagine, is looking after that with the hazmat company. I haven't heard anything about water quality other than the fact that they were there, if you want, vacuuming up water so that it wouldn't get into the lake. I don't know how effective that was, but all I can tell you is that they were there. Yeah, they would be. Yeah. I will ask that. All I can tell you is I will ask that question tomorrow, or I will include that question to Chief Upper tonight. Okay?
And when they do a test on the air, is that hourly? Do we, like, if you smell something in the air, which I have,
yeah,
from time to time, but not all the time, so maybe we shouldn't be out maybe at that particular hour, or
I can't.
there's some things that I want to know.
I don't know how often they do it. All I can do is ask them to do it again, whether they do it at 9 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll suggest that too. Okay.
Please use the mic if you want to speak.
I'm just saying maybe we should be informed today.
Okay.
If we're smelling stuff.
Yeah, because it might change with how the weather moves too. Yeah.
But thank you for that question.
Thanks. One more thing. So I know we've been talking a lot about timelines and how, like, when should we be putting an action plan together, an evacuation plan, and so forth. And like Les was saying, those things I think should be done quicker than, right? And we don't need to wait on the city. Like Les was saying, we can come together as a community with all of our skills that we all have. I'm sure we have a diverse network here, and we can make something that works, as well as even helping with the cleanup of the land.
It's a great, I applaud Les for saying that.
Thank you.
I think it's a great start.
Just further to her question, can the city, or is the city in the process of determining what's in the other buildings in the park? We don't really know what's in them. I'd hate to see the cannabis facility go up in smoke.
Dave, knowing you, I'm not going to make a comment about that, other than the fact you'd probably be the first one in line, okay?
Okay. Yeah, my name is Elena Thompson, and I have lived happily in this community up until recently.
Quiet, please.
My husband, fortunately, was in the hospital when the incident occurred. And I say happily because he has very serious lung problem, and the air quality would have been pretty bad for him. He's on oxygen, heavy oxygen all the time. And if there is a delay, you know, there's only portables that last a certain period of time. So one-way exit, forget it. He will lose his life waiting for the traffic to exit. So that's not convenient at all. Also, he cannot wait for many deliberations and a lot of time. His life is very precious to us, and we cannot wait. So hopefully, and as somebody else was saying, we are an aging population, and we contribute a lot to the city. So hopefully the council and the mayor that are here and whoever is not here can listen to all these comments from the public and give us the correct access to this community.
We will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, last two questions or comments. And then
If I may, I just want to say that the city does have an emergency plan in place. It needs to be tweaked for certain things. That's what we need to work on. But there is a plan in place. I mean, within a very quick amount of time, you know, traffic was blocked off there. They had the command post set up at the Lions Club. The ambulances were there, the police were there, the fire was there, and the fire was over there. So there is a plan. From my experience, communication was key, and some of that was lacking. And the bridges, yes. So there is some tweaking, but I don't want people going away from here thinking that the city doesn't have any plans in place for emergencies like this.
Ryan can attest to that.
Yeah. Where is he?
At the back corner.
Okay, so at the risk of being one of the least popular people in the room, I'm actually not a fan of keeping Northrop open, and I'll tell you why. I live a couple doors down from Northrop, and prior to the incident on the 12th, it is definitely a throughway for the community, not just for the community, but for people trying to bypass the bridge. They use it as a fast track to get ahead of the queue. I've personally witnessed 2 accidents at that particular intersection. And in the past week, there has definitely been a massive uptick of industrial traffic. Today alone, I counted 36 school buses that you would think drove slowly and respectively, but didn't in the neighborhood. And I think yesterday there was approximately 12 large transport trucks that came down that street. And it's a tight turn, and it's not safe for the community, for the kids to have that type of volume of traffic. I agree that we need more than one way in and out. I also agree that emergency responders responded extremely quickly, and that the bridge is an issue, and so on and so forth. But just for a bit of a balance on the approach to Northrop, I wanted to share my perspective with this group, because I don't think that that is the only answer. I do think that, to your point earlier about the emergency exit at the end of Peacock not being opened, I don't think that was prioritized on the day because there was an alternative route. And that can be enhanced. I know Les and I have had numerous conversations on our dog walks about this. And I think that that is a good alternative, but I want you to take forward to regional staff and to city staff that they need to put their thinking caps on, think of other alternatives, because I'm not convinced that Northrop is the only answer.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, and we obviously welcome opposing opinions or different opinions. At the end of the night, during our wrap-up, we're going to talk about an action plan that we can do as a community, things we can do to support all our ideas. So we've got a couple more quick things and then a quick wrap-up, and we'll be done.
I just have a quick question. The nurseries, are there chemicals in there? Do we have to worry about the nurseries ever going on fire? If they catch fire, we're toast.
Yeah, those are questions that we've asked, and we're looking for answers for those right now.
Oh, so you don't know?
Not personally, no.
I'll just speak to that. Luckily, Colonial Gardens is a glass greenhouse, so we've got a lot of luck there, because all the new greenhouses are plastic, and they would have went up instantly. So I understand there was some blowout damage done to the greenhouses, but the older glass greenhouses are a lot better with fire than the new ones are. Okay.
Hi guys, my name is Tom. My name's Tom from Newport Key. I think it's absolutely scandalous, quite frankly, that the city didn't have a better insight as to what was being stored in all of these factories. When they apply for a license, they should have declarative forms that they have to fill out, telling you exactly what they're going to be doing, what they're going to be processing, what they're going to have stored on site, how explosive it is, what risk it takes. And I'd like to know that the bylaw people are going around and inspecting all that stuff to make sure that they're in full compliance. We are sitting on a potential powder keg here, including the dry docks. If one of those ships was ever to go, I'd like to know that we're kind of keeping an eye on them. Now, nobody elected me mayor, thank God, or you'd be in a whole lot more trouble. Kidding. But I would never have allowed this to happen. It's really simple. When we're this close, our lives are at stake. It's real simple. And unless the city's doing their job, they're not going to let me on site to say, oh, look, a whole bunch of improperly stored explosive material or potentially explosive. And you ought to take this citywide. Start with us, because right here is where ground zero starts. But then spread it out to the whole city, because the whole city's at risk. That's enough for me.
I'd like to speak to, I've been sitting listening to everybody's planning about what do we do when it happens again? What's the access when it happens again? I'd rather speak about how do we make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's what everybody here wants to know. From a standpoint of, we all buy Band-Aids in case we cut ourselves, but the idea of not cutting ourselves is actually a preferable option. So what is the plan to research what is still in that industrial estate, where the dangers are, when was it last checked, what are their plans and their safety procedures and their policies adequate enough for what's in the facility? My other half is an auditor for food facilities, and the detail that she goes into is absolutely incredible. I want to make sure that those industries that are still there now, that we have no idea what's there, absolutely no idea, that they are being checked to be safe so that we don't need Northrop open, so we don't need CRT, so we don't need a plan of evacuation. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event, hopefully, yeah? But we want to make sure that, let's keep it at that and make sure that the other businesses are being checked, being audited, making sure we know exactly what's there and what their plans are and the procedures are in the right order. So that's the point I want to make.
Can I follow up with that or not?
Go ahead. I suggested the same thing to David Oakes today.
Yeah. So just to follow up quickly, a couple of people have said the same thing, and we have already asked those same questions of our staff, of our bylaw and stuff. We don't have all the answers to that yet, but we are looking into it. I know that there are things in place. We just don't know all the answers to that. And of course, we want to make sure that in future we have those answers and we have that information more readily available. And I'm certain that our emergency services know those things and what's happening and stuff like that.
And as I just said to Don, in talking with our CAO today, I said exactly what you said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we should be doing an inspection of, and I'm not saying they're bad industries at all, but we should be doing an inspection of every industry there to make sure, A, that we know what they're doing and they're complying with what they're supposed to be doing. With this place, it'll be a very interesting result, I think, when it comes out to find out exactly if what was inside was supposed to be inside. I'm not saying that the owner did anything wrong, but it's just going to be an interesting result. But I think our chief building official should be going around ensuring, because and I know as far as fire is concerned, they have to have a fire master plan, action plan right in the front door. So if our guys are there, they can pull that out and they know exactly the layout of the, you know, having been a school principal, we had to do that. So they know exactly where the fire alarms are. They know exactly the layout of the school or the building. That's there. But as far as what's inside, I don't know if that's included, but it should be. You're right.
And one follow-up was about, it was mentioned earlier about that particular business. We would all feel an awful lot safer if somebody told us they're never coming back again, never going to be allowed in that industrial estate. I have a neighbour here tonight who said to me before we started, if they open up again, she's moving. That shouldn't be allowed to happen.
I can just say that Don and I will fight like hell to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, actually I'm a visitor and I'm leaving in 3 weeks, but I'm still caring about the people who I lived with for 3 months. I just have a question, and it's for people. Although Canada is the second largest country in the world in area, why people accept building such dangerous industries like that in a residential area. It's not acceptable for me, and I cannot understand that. It's really very strange. So for me, I appreciate that everyone is discussing the crisis management, and it's very important. It's very important to have an emergency plan, but the most important that to remove all these industries from the residential areas. Thank you.
Okay, that's almost the end of the meeting. Linda's going to wrap up. Before she does, and before any of you leave, I do want to mention the fact that although we've been dealing with a lot of political issues lately, on March 3rd, we're doing a comedy night here. The Port Weller Residents Association presents Laughin' at the Lions, 4 great comics, $20. It's a community building event, so we can all come out and have a great night of laughs. So that's Friday, March 3rd. Tickets will be promoted through the Foghorn. If you don't get it, sign up on our list there, please. So, Linda, please.
Can I just, we just want to say a couple of things. First of all, we'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to come here and for your patience. And please feel free to reach out to any one of us, because we're certainly here to answer and help you in any way we can. And we'll hang around a bit tonight to chat with you if you want. And our phones are always available. So please feel free to reach out, and thank you very much for taking the time. And Mike wants to say something to you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I grew up here, and I hang here. I'm the vice president of this club, too, and I've talked to many residents. And I don't know, give you any reassurance or whatever, but like what Bill and Don were saying, the rest of the council is 100% behind this. It's sad that it took a tragedy this time, because they've been working on it so long, but we as a council are proactive, and there's something will be done, and there will be changes, and I hope that helps you. So.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I do ask, excuse me, please, to wait for 2 more minutes, because I'm going to give you some information that everybody needs to know and be aware of. On the screen is the zoning map for the city of St. Catharines. All of that blue is heavy industrial in Port Weller East. It is in the absolutely wrong place for a business. It is in the absolute wrong place for residents and for tourists. It's the wrong place for all of that. Okay, so, there is if you could please put on the screen, I think it's photo 11. It's an aerial shot with some lands outlined in green. No. No. Okay, if not, I'll just have to describe it. Okay. There's a 45-acre parcel south of Lakeshore Road. Everybody knows it. But they don't know the story. It is between MJ's and Werner's Fruit Farm, and it is all those orchards going all the way back. And those 45 acres are zoned industrial. And we don't need one more bit of industrial in Port Weller East. In the last term of thank you. In the last term of council, City Council made unusually extensive efforts to protect this 45-acre parcel of undeveloped lands to be kept as heavy industrial basically forever by what's called a ministerial zoning order. That's not the ministry, that's from the Minister of Housing, him or herself. And it can only be amended or revoked by another MZO. And we need to know if a parcel of land that's 100 feet, because I did the title search and I looked at the survey, okay? I do my research. I'm a research, not everything I say, every word that comes out of my mouth, I've researched completely. If a parcel of land 100 feet by 400 feet could have such a catastrophic incident, imagine what a heavy industry on 45 acres could have on a negative impact on our community. If you want that stopped, be active. Put your name on our e-list at the back, which is free, where you can get updates of everything that's happening in Port Weller East. I also have a huge thanks here for the Grantham Lions Club, who provided this hall at no cost tonight. And they didn't hesitate, because they knew of the extreme importance when I had immediately called to book the hall. By the way, as probably within the first hour of that fire raging, I was emailing my board saying, we have to have this meeting. I know people wanted to delay it till there were investigations. Those investigations are really irrelevant. We want answers to the emergency access route, to all these other things, and we wanted to talk about it and hear from them first. So I'm really grateful to them showing up. This is a tough but necessary night. And please consider a donation in the jar at the back on your way out to the Grantham Lions Club, who have made this possible. Attending tonight is only a first step. Being productively active is the only way to protect and improve everyone's quality of life. That's why the Residents Association asked for a vision plan for the present and future of Port Weller East. We would like you, if you want that, to go on the e-list and email the Residents Association, say you want to be part of that, and email the city, because I'm told that it's not happening because it's a cost issue. And so the only way to get past that obstacle is to work as a group with a focus and goals, plus emailing individually to City Council. The email address is very simple to reach the mayor and City Council. It is mayorcouncil@stcatharines.ca. So that gets everybody at once. We have a new mayor and a new city council. So let's tell them what direction and what vision Port Weller East residents want. The Residents Association is pushing for a vision plan that takes all of these things into consideration. We have a list that I'm not going into tonight of 16 asks that we have for from us for the community. That even include things like, the simple things. This is the stuff that goes in the vision plan. When, if you're keeping Northrop open, sidewalks on Northrop so the residents can walk to and from Happy Ralph's safely. This is all the kind of stuff that we need to have from you, that we know, but we need to have from you, and we need to have your efforts going out, because coming to a meeting is one thing, but sending emails, being a little more active, that is the only way that we get things done. I thank every person who has come here tonight. I thank every person watching on live stream, and every person who will be watching this in the future on YouTube, because it will be there. And the link will be on the Residents Association Facebook page. Or, Kevin, how would we find that? That's the best place. There we go. Our last meeting that we held the candidates meeting in October. Right now, and they're all individual views. We've had 667 views of our candidates night. This is our third community meeting that we have paid for and arranged in less than a year. We are an active group, and we need to hear from you. And we need support from you and direction. And with that, I think I conclude. Thank you so much.